The American legal system, long considered a pillar of democracy and fairness, is now facing a crisis unlike any in recent memory. The Department of Justice, the agency tasked with upholding the rule of law, is at the very center of this storm. Across the country, there's a growing sense of unease as the DOJ grapples with an unprecedented wave of departures and internal conflict. Nearly 3,000 DOJ attorneys have resigned or been fired in just 10 months, triple the usual rate. This mass exodus is not just a statistic, it represents a profound loss of experience, institutional memory, and public trust. This isn't just a staffing issue, it's a sign of deep turmoil within the department. The atmosphere inside the DOJ has become tense, with many employees expressing fear and uncertainty about the future. Attorneys from divisions nationwide, including the Civil Rights Division, are leaving in droves. These are not just junior staffers but seasoned professionals who have dedicated their careers to public service. The rapid increase in departures points to unresolved, worsening problems. Each day, more desks are left empty, and the workload for those who remain grows heavier. The loss of so much legal expertise threatens the DOJ's ability to function. Critical cases are delayed, investigations stall, and the department's effectiveness is called into question. Many cite fundamental shifts in policy and political interference as reasons for leaving. Long-standing norms are being challenged, and the traditional independence of the DOJ is under threat. The DOJ's independence is in question, with career prosecutors clashing with new leadership. Tensions are high as differing visions for the department's future collide. When those sworn to uphold justice walk away, it signals a breakdown in the system's integrity. The very foundation of impartial justice is at risk, and the ripple effects could be felt throughout the entire legal system. The consequences of this exodus will be felt for years. The DOJ's ability to protect civil rights, prosecute crimes, and defend the Constitution is now in jeopardy. The public is left to wonder, who does the Department of Justice really serve? As trust erodes, Americans are left searching for answers, hoping that the nation's highest law enforcement agency can find its way back to stability and integrity. The crisis came to a head in Minnesota, a state not typically known for political drama on the national stage. But this time, the spotlight was unavoidable. Overnight, 6 of the most senior federal prosecutors in the state abruptly resigned, leaving their offices empty, and their cases in limbo. These were not just any attorneys. They were the backbone of major investigations into fraud, corruption, and abuse of power, handling cases that shaped the state's legal landscape. Their sudden departure sent shockwaves through the legal community. Was this a mass firing, or a principled stand against something bigger? The uncertainty only fueled speculation. Attorney General Pam Bondi quickly took to the podium, insisting she dismissed them for refusing to cooperate with new ICE directives and accusing them of harboring political motives. Her public statements transformed what could have been a quiet personnel matter into a full-blown political spectacle, drawing national media attention and igniting fierce debate. Bondi went further, alleging that the prosecutors were already seeking positions at liberal law firms and exploiting their government benefits, painting them as self-interested and disloyal. The prosecutors, for their part, pushed back. They argued that the new directives crossed ethical lines and that they could not, in good conscience, enforce policies they believed undermined justice. This escalating conflict exposed a Department of Justice leadership willing to publicly clash with its own staff, prioritizing political loyalty over professional integrity. The fallout was immediate. Morale within the department plummeted, and the sense that impartial justice was being replaced by political agendas became impossible to ignore. What began as an internal dispute had now erupted into a national crisis, with the very integrity of the Justice Department hanging in the balance. The wave of resignations in Minnesota was set off by a deeply tragic and controversial case that shook the very foundations of the state's justice system. At the center of it all was the heartbreaking death of Renee Nicole Good, who lost her life during a confrontation with an ICE agent. The incident sent shockwaves through the community, igniting outrage and sorrow. But instead of launching a thorough investigation into the actions of the agent involved, the Department of Justice's top leadership made a stunning decision. They directed federal prosecutors to shift their focus away from the agent and instead pursue charges against Good's grieving widow, a move that many saw as a blatant miscarriage of justice. For countless prosecutors and legal staff, this was a line they simply could not cross. The order represented a clear misuse of governmental power, weaponizing the justice system for political purposes, rather than upholding the law. The ethical dilemma was profound. Prosecutors were forced to make an impossible choice: follow their conscience and risk their careers, or comply with directives they believed to be fundamentally wrong. The fallout from Minnesota quickly reached the nation's capital. In Washington, D.C., senior attorneys in the Civil Rights Division, longtime defenders of constitutional protections, also resigned in protest, unable to reconcile their values with the department's new direction. Their collective departure sent a chilling message across the country: the very mission of the Department of Justice, to safeguard civil rights and ensure equal protection under the law, was under direct threat. The Renee Nicole Good case laid bare the devastating human consequences of political interference in the justice system. Families were left shattered, and communities lost faith in the institutions meant to protect them. By choosing to investigate and prosecute a victim's family instead of holding the perpetrator accountable, the department signaled a dangerous shift in priorities, one that undermined the very concept of justice. The wave of resignations that followed was more than just a protest. It was a desperate warning to the nation. The moral compass of the Department of Justice was spinning out of control, and the rule of law itself was at risk. In the aftermath, the American public was left to grapple with a haunting question: if justice can be so easily manipulated, can it truly be trusted to serve the people? The loss of 6 top prosecutors has left Minneapolis exposed. Mayor Jacob Frey warned that public safety is at risk without these experts leading complex investigations. Ongoing cases against financial crimes and corruption may now stall. Frey criticized DOJ leadership for undermining local federal partnerships. The chaos in Washington is making cities like Minneapolis more vulnerable to crime. The mayor's plea: stop the political games and restore stability. Without experienced federal partners, justice for victims is delayed or denied. The turmoil at the DOJ isn't just a DC story, it's hitting communities nationwide. Minneapolis is now on the front lines of this crisis. The DOJ's aggressive tactics have reached the press. FBI agents raided Washington Post reporter Hannah Nathanson's home, seizing her devices to uncover confidential sources. The warrant targeted over 1,000 whistleblowers who had trusted her. Attorney General Bondi defended the raid, equating journalistic work with espionage. She rescinded protections for journalists, making it easier to subpoena reporters and seize records. This move dismantles safeguards for press freedom and chills investigative reporting. Without source protection, whistleblowers will stay silent, and the public loses vital oversight. Bondi's stance: national security trumps the public's right to know. The precedent is clear: journalists are now targets, not watchdogs. The DOJ faces backlash for its handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case. Despite the Epstein Transparency Act, only 1% of files have been released. Politicians offer conflicting excuses, fueling suspicion and frustration. The slow release suggests the department is protecting the powerful, not the victims. The public sees a two-tiered justice system, one for the elite, another for everyone else. The DOJ's inaction on Epstein stands in stark contrast to its pursuit of whistleblowers and journalists. Until the files are released, trust in the department will continue to erode. The question remains: whose interests does the DOJ really serve? Immigration policy is another flashpoint between local and federal authorities. Mayor Frey defends Minneapolis's sanctuary city ordinance, prioritizing violent crime over immigration enforcement. He argues that wrongful detentions by ICE undermine trust and public safety. Residents fear reporting crimes, making the city less safe for all. The DOJ, under Bondi, sees sanctuary policies as threats to national security. This clash is about more than immigration. It's about local autonomy versus federal control. Minneapolis's stance reflects a broader national divide over law enforcement priorities. Frey insists that building trust is more effective than turning police into immigration agents. Cities like Minneapolis are caught between serving their residents and complying with Washington's demands. America's divisions are deepening, with the justice system at the center. The January 6th pipe bomber's lawyer now seeks a pardon, citing political precedent. This blurs the line between protest and domestic terrorism, alarming many. At a Detroit Ford plant, a worker's suspension for criticizing Trump became a national flashpoint. These incidents reveal a justice system in crisis: mass resignations, attacks on the press, and slow-walked investigations. Trust in institutions is eroding as politics overtakes principle. When prosecutors resign for integrity and the press is silenced, democracy weakens. The public wonders if justice is still impartial. Rebuilding trust requires transparency, accountability, and a return to the rule of law. Without it, the promise of justice for all is at risk in a divided America.